we did this previously with Dave Matthews, where I kind of just threw the script out and just kept the conversation going. Only because I'm so curious about this. I'm gonna sort of eschew and kind of cast aside the Questlove Supreme 101 questions, because this to me is, I'm doing this for my, really, I'm being selfish and just doing it for, you know, my own benefit. But I really, I've been following your storyline, um in terms of you really getting your pivoting your life and taking your health seriously. And of course, you already know, Fonte already knows, like, I mean, everyone on this current conversation knows that we're kind of in a we're sort of in an arena where it's very likely that in a flash you could instantly leave this earthly plane in
Facts.
a matter of seconds, you know.
Facts.
And it's very common for me. This morning was one of those mornings. One of my best friends in the world um made his exodus to the next life, and it's almost to the point where it shouldn't be numbing when you hear about this, especially when you hear about, it's more health related. um but just the fact that, we're barely getting the pleasure of celebrating our 50th birthday, let alone an older age. And so for me, I would like to know, um Styles, like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back for you, in terms of,
Less.
like, you gotta make a change, and you gotta, you know not only focus on your own personal health, but amplify that message for us that are out here listening to you.
I believe being in hip hop and moving to a more affluent neighborhood was really my wake up call, to be honest to you. Years ago. So, through hip hop, fortunate enough, I was able to move from where I originally lived. I think I want to say I moved. I'm 48 now. Around the time when I was 21, 22 is when I first moved to a better neighborhood, and just really noticing the differences in the stores and the differences in what's being sold when you live in a more affluent neighborhood. And hip hop is a very braggadocious verbal sport, and but it's unrealistic when you think of poor people. Like everybody, naturally we're supposed to brag, say we better MCs and talk about your lifestyle. But when I started thinking about it, how many people were aspiring to get things that most likely they wouldn't be able to get or wouldn't be able to afford, and that their life is focused on that due to hip hop, it kind of made me change my outlook on the message I wanted to deliver. So it was like, bro, you want a Bentley, but you can't afford a Civic. And to be able to afford a Civic, you have to have a certain work lifestyle, work ethic. And the best way to do that is to take care of yourself. And between that and then looking at the difference that a healthy lifestyle made for me personally, the things that it was able to change about me. Early styles, I would say my temper was extremely bad, to the point where I was smart, but I would do stupid things. I let my ego and my pride kind of run my life and what I was doing. So, I was not gonna have security type of guy. I'm gonna handle my own. If I have a problem, I'm gonna handle it on my own. And then that later on led me to being more cowboyish. And then I had to sit back and think, like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm too smart to be this way, but why am I this way? So I came up with my own hypotheses that I had some sort of chemical imbalance, and that was coming from what I was putting in my body. Uh, I was At the time I was around 240. I had postnasal drip, sinusitis, eczema, and a horrible temper. And just from juicing up and eating better, I noticed the change in myself. I noticed the change in my spirit. So it was like, I started looking at things out of the box and from how I normally would look at things. And then I kind of knew that was all due to me just changing my lifestyle and caring about myself more. I think a lot of us, we say we care about ourselves, we say we love ourselves, but we're programmed and conditioned to do things that people before us did, whether it's our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, our neighbors. Uh, we kind of put ourselves in a box of not treating ourselves right because people we love and that came up before us and around us don't treat themselves right. So we get conditioned to thinking we don't owe ourselves the best. Like I like material things, like you know what I mean, but I don't love them more than I love my people. I don't love them more than I love myself. And some of us we don't even love ourselves enough because we don't really know to. Like we run around, we chase the dollar, we chase the dream. We're trying to be here for our family. We're trying to have our families live a better life. But that really all starts with your personal health. And like you say, when you think about it in hip hop, we're the most influential genre that's across the world. But we also the genre that suffers, being that we're mostly black, brown, people of color, whatever you want to call it. We don't pay attention to diabetes. We don't pay attention to high blood pressure. We don't pay attention to cancer. We don't pay attention to the things we're eating. We don't look up the ingredients of the things we're eating, but you could go buy the best outfit. You could buy the best watch, buy the best car. You don't
Well,
put
remember, but Styles, it wasn't until what the 90s is when brothers was still saying, I ain't gonna live till 25 anyway, right?
yeah, like it that was a lot. Like I'm 48. I know there was a time in my life I didn't even think about making it to 50.
The future.
That wasn't even in my, that was like a bonus and a plus. And then we lose so many people, but we don't look at why. Like, and technology is so fast and speeding nowadays that we're not all taking care of ourselves properly. So I think it's important to do that
We're doing
and
better.
use the scope of how we look at things and how we're here for ourselves and our family.
Real talk, man. Like, what year did you open your juice bar?
13 years ago, almost
Yep.
14 years ago would be the first one.
So
So yeah.
yeah, I'll probably say, and a lot of times, like, like people who are pioneers and they never get the credit. Like, you'll never hear anyone say, like, oh, LL Cool J is in my top 5. Although we'll acknowledge him as God, we'll acknowledge him as the GOAT or whatever. But, we'll always do like our, like, oh, well, there's Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, da da da. But no one ever says LL. Like, LL's so good and so pioneering. It's almost like Thriller will never be in anyone's top 5 list as like albums that changed my, you know what I mean? Like, it just goes without saying. I will probably say right now that if I really think about it, so there was a point in my life around 2009, 2010, in which I think we were doing like we did like the second Roots picnic in Philly. And that's probably the one concentrated week in which I will return back to Philadelphia, like my home. Like, I'm here in New York because of the Tonight Show and all that stuff. So I live in New York now. But when it's Roots picnic time, between all the rehearsals and all that stuff, I'm going back to Philadelphia. And I don't know. Like, I do this weird thing. And when I was younger, I used to always like kind of ridicule, you'll hear about like old ball players going back to their projects or whatever, and you'll be like, yo, what the hell are they doing? Like, why would you put yourself in that dangerous situation? Like, I'd be super judgmental of that. But I'd also know that I do that too a lot. Like, I will 3 a.m. drive by my grandmom's house, like between like 11 p.m. to 4 a.m, what I call chasing ghosts. Like, and I want to know, like, why do I have an addiction to like visiting the worst parts of my childhood just to like, is this how I deal with the balance of connecting of like maybe feelings of guilt that I have of like where I am now, like the same thing, living in an affluent neighborhood, or like, is this me balancing out? But the whole point was that the second Roots picnic, another way that I go back to whatever, nostalgia is also a very toxic way, which is food. Now, Philadelphia is a food town. So, of
It's the
course,
best.
right, I will make plans like, okay, on Tuesday, I'm going to go to this hoagie spot, and then Wednesday and Thursday, I'm going to go cheesesteak spots and da. So I remember the night before the second picnic, I kind of overdid it on the cheesesteaks and I felt horrible. Like, why do I feel so lethargic? Like, and I realized, like, yo, man, like, I went to my neighborhood and realized that everything that I've consumed all my life, which explains, at some points I was like 430 pounds. Currently, right now, I'm like 290. But back in my 400 pounds days, I've realized, like, yo, like, every fattening food that there ever was, it's almost like by design. Why are the cheapest foods the most harmful
It
foods, the
is
most
by
accessible?
design.
Right.
Very
So then skip to me seeing a clip of you talking about this. It was like it was the red company, the ribbon cutting of your juice spot. And when you said what you said, I was like, bing. I was like, that's it. I'm gonna get this is how not only am I going to turn my personal life around, and not to mention, like, Fonte had already like released a song about how, we're getting older now and we need to, he called it expensive jeans, pun on jeans. And that also planted a seed in me. But when I saw what you did, I was like, that's exactly, like, I'm gonna have to be the paradigm shift. So cut to now, like, my entire investment portfolio is investing in plant-based, healthier, like, figuring out how to turn the conversation around without people like rolling their eyes like, all right, here he comes again, like preaching or whatever. For you though, for you influence me and I'm not in your inner circle. Is your inner circle taking note of this? And are you being influential on them, or are they now looking at you like, here he goes again, like telling me to put the liquor down and come to the gym with him?
I get a bit of both. For the most part, I can say most of my inner circle has changed. I guess I'm annoying with it, but I look at it like this. Uh, it's a war. Like, you know what I mean? It's literally a war on people our color that we don't know we're in. So I also don't look at it like I'm the leader of the pack. There's been Dick Gregory before me. There's
Oh,
been
talk
Dr.
about it. Yes.
There's been plenty of people who done it. I'm just probably the most loudest, boisterous person in hip hop. Even in hip hop, there's plenty of plant-based people. There's plenty of vegans. Uh, as you said, like, I'm haunted by going back to where I'm from because, no pun intended, you do that because you're connected to your roots. And when you're connected to your roots, it's hard to forget where you're from. And when you escalate, you always want to somewhat stay in tune. I think that's the musical part of us, is staying in tune with the foundation. But when you start understanding that it's a war, I don't really care how you look at me. I don't care how annoyed you get. I do my job as a messenger. I am a messenger, and I don't look at it any further than that. And if whether you take the message or you don't take the message, that's not on me. It's on me to make sure I just keep throwing out the message. So to be able to go from one juice bar and see when I first started doing this, I'm Styles P from the Locks, hardest MC, the guy who's done plenty of more than enough stupid shit in my lifetime. The guy with a history of violence. So when you understand that and you understand where that comes from, you don't really have time to worry about how people are taking it. When we're losing so many great people in our culture, when we're losing so many great people in our families, in the streets, I don't really worry about how I rub you, long as I got the message out and long as I did my job. I was able to not only see my inner circle change, but my neighborhood change. Through that, we have been able to connect with the mayor, build up parks. I'm doing something with the YMCA now, where we're gonna have soup kitchens and we're gonna give out plant-based food. We're just gonna keep pushing it forward. We're not gonna worry about. Uh, I'm the now Vegan Dale has a bunch of other rappers coming to it. I don't
Yeah.
think you really got the time when we doing what we do, and when you're pushing forward, you don't have the time to worry about if you're rubbing people the wrong way or if they're tired of hearing you. The message will hit them one day, maybe sometimes when it's too late, maybe sometimes early enough, maybe sometimes just on time. But as a messenger, that's our job. And fortunately, I have been able to see enough people change. Before, for me, like you guys know this, Font, and you too, Quest. When somebody comes up to you and go, "Yo, your music has changed my life. Yo, this song means so much to me. Yo, that performance means so much to me." That's an out of this world feeling. It really humbles you in a way that it's hard to put it in words. Yeah. So for me, although God is family, it's always been God, family, hip hop. The shift has been able to change to God is family, health, then hip hop. Because without health, we have nothing. And until you really realize that, like, there's so much of us who suffer from so many things, and it's just not cool to talk about. So I don't care about if it's not cool. Now we're into making it cool. Now we're able to change.
You have made it.
To say we went from 1 juice bar to 5 juice bars to almost 6 juice bars to now pharmacy for life online to a pharmacy for life brick and mortar. So what I do is understand is people are what they don't say is cool in front of everybody, they'll still come up to you on the side and go, "Yo, bro, how'd you lose that weight? Yo, bro, how's your skin looking like that? Oh, yo, bro, oh man, I see you can do pull-ups or stretch this amount of much, and how do you do it?" So it's about the impact and change, and people, whether you do it intentionally or not, when people see you change, leading by example is the best thing you could do. Because even like we tell people in the juice bar, we give out our menu. Like literally, I have 5 juice bars, but how many people could physically make it to that juice bar? And they're all in New York. So what I do is tell people, get a juicer, get a blender. If you come in our juice bar and you never come back, that's fine with me. But take the menu, take a picture of it, and bring it home to your loved ones. Ooh. At least do that and practice by example, because you bringing your kid into the juice bar is beneficial for me, and I'm going to make the money. But your kid seeing you wake up in the morning, your kid, your siblings, your brother and sister, your wife, your whatever it is, your partner, whatever you have, when they see you put the things in the juice in the blender yourself and the juicer, that leads by example. Like our kids listen to us, but they watch what we do more than they listen to us.
But also, isn't being a evolved man right now, like that is actually trending. I was just talking to Freeway about this, and I was like, the fact that we have more MCs showing their full selves instead of just all of the best parts. I mean, Freeway being an example, and I was asking, I said, it seems like it's a nice group of y'all who actually communicate with each other and lift each other up that way. Isn't that, it seems like that's the case in that way, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's the trend. I think it's the shift in lifestyle.
Thank God. The kids would call it the trend. Yes.
Yeah, the trend will go. A trend will come and go. I think a shift in your lifestyle is being connected to somebody who genuinely cares about you. I'm not interested in having, I think old hip hop is, I have to have more watches and a better watch than you. My car is more expensive than you. I could buy more bottles than you. I have more fine women around me than you do. Like my thing is, I'm a married man, I'm a family man, and I care about you for who you are. I want to be the best me that I could be. So fortunately, it can help myself first and foremost, then the loved ones around me, then my friends, my immediate inner circle, then my community. And if you move with life with doing that, I think that's the change that's needed. That's the change that's needed, because like Quest said, I don't know if I'm gonna be here. Like, I think people kind of look at life, and I've lost enough people in my life, family members, close friends, people in the community, where I know I'm not promised 5 minutes later. So I want to do what I could do to make the difference, to say, when I go, you're not going to think about the things you did. You're going to think about the things you didn't do. And
Right.